some of the nation's most powerful union bosses are now attacking the Trump administration and Elon Musk specifically for their efforts to reduce waste and right-size the government. And that includes Randi Weingarten, otherwise known as the president of the American Federation of Teachers. She went into meltdown mode just yesterday in an interview about it on CNN, pushing fear and lies.
So what we're hearing is just complete chaos and, frankly, a whole bunch of cruelty. Because at the end of the day, you can make departments more efficient. And I'm not a big believer in bureaucracy, but this feels like, as Elon Musk said to you, evisceration. So here's a guy who has hundreds of millions of dollars of contracts from these departments, and he's not touching them, but what he's doing is really taking money from kids who really need it in the field. And these departments, yes, they can be much more efficient, but that's what the education department does. It gives out money to kids so you can feed them a decent lunch, so we can have, tutors for reading, so you can actually help kids with math problems. That's what's going on right now.
Wow. Who knew that cutting government waste would be so controversial? Truly. But on the same note, there has been a slight setback this week because another activist judge extended the block on Trump's plan to put thousands of USAID workers on administrative leave yesterday. U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols originally blocked the move, and his extension will protect those workers for another week, creating yet another hurdle for the White House. Joining us now to discuss is Mark Mix, the president of the National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation. Mark, thank you for joining me.
Riley, good to be with you. Congratulations on the show. Thanks for putting Randi Weingarten up there. Yes. This is the quote-unquote leader of the educational bureaucracy, although she doesn't like bureaucracy, that has gotten the United States ranked number 40 in the world in educational accomplishments, but yet ranked number 1 in the world in expenditures per pupil. Yeah. So Randi Weingarten commenting about anything that has anything to do with education of children is just really, really ripe, I'll tell you.
Yes. Well, here's the thing, Mark, if I could. So I don't understand the justification. You would think the Department of Education would be about promoting academic standards and helping students and teachers succeed in the classroom, but she goes on CNN and is talking about making sure that we have money for people to get school lunches. So I'm a little confused about what the DOE is really supposed to be doing in the first place.
Well, I think there's general confusion about what they do, and obviously what they're doing or what they have done has not been good. The idea that this all comes back to the children is a classic retort or response from someone like Randi Weingarten. Somehow if you try to get efficiency or effectiveness back into a program or an agency, and if you try to cut anything, it's about children. This is ridiculous. This is about a bureaucracy that shouldn't exist. I mean, we know that parents and school boards at the local level are the best advocates for their children's education, and something that basically takes money from taxpayers, filters it through a 30 or 40% bureaucracy that takes 40% of the money and then sends it back to the states is outrageous. It has to be changed. And Donald Trump's on the right path with this, Riley. You heard him talk about it from the Oval Office the other day about the standards and the cost. And boy, oh boy, if anyone takes a microscope or shines any light on it, it's the children.
Yeah, it is. Look, it's sad to see them use children as props, basically, in this war on efficiency. But speaking of that, I'm really disturbed to see the fact that as DOGE and the Trump administration tries to cut waste, public sector unions are getting in the way. I find that deeply disturbing for so many reasons. And I want to get your thoughts about that.
Yeah, indeed. Look, Franklin Roosevelt, the founder of the New Deal, the guy that imposed federal labor policy on the entire country in the private sector, was asked this very same question about should we unionize government. And he said you can't unionize government. But yet today, there are as many government union members in this country as there are private sector union members. The good news about this, Riley, is that the numbers that have come out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics say that they're only representing about 5.9% of the private sector and less than 10% of the entire workforce in America.
Really?
And so That's a problem with the union, quote unquote, leadership. And I'm being really, really generous in calling them that, because they are so out of step with the American people, so out of step with their own members, so out of step with the American taxpayers that it's ridiculous. And it's about time that these unions in the government are getting an audit, if you will, or the bureaucracies that are run by these union officials, like the American Federation of Government Employees.
Yes. Nobody is above an audit. I mean, these are supposed to be public agencies serving the American people, and we need to know what's really going on. And by the way, if they were really just doing everything they should be and it was working out, then why do they have anything to hide, seemingly? I mean, why are they trying to fight the audit? I don't understand that. Why are you against public transparency? So I think that's really concerning too, but I want to pivot really quick because it seems that Senator Rand Paul is reintroducing the National Right to Work Act, and he put out a pretty good statement about it, so I want to play this video and then get your response.
Today I'm proud to introduce the National Right to Work Act. This bill got more Senate co-sponsors than ever before when I introduced it in the previous Congress, and for good reason. It protects workers in Kentucky and all 50 states from being forced to pay dues to a labor union as a condition for their employment. More than 8 in 10 Americans, including the vast majority of active union members, believe that union dues should be voluntary. Yet today, 5.5 million American workers are forced to pay union dues or be fired. Under my bill, workers would have the right to join a union, but they would never be fired for refusing to fork over part of their paychecks to union bosses. If workers think their union bosses are too corrupt, if they disagree with the union boss's radical left-wing politics, or if they simply think the union in their workplace isn't providing a valuable service, they could have the freedom to cut off any money from that unwanted union. The National Right to Work Act gives every worker that freedom, which is why I'm happy to introduce it once again and look forward to working with Mark Mix and the National Right to Work Committee to get it passed.
Well, there we go. What do you think about that, Mark?
Wow, I hadn't seen that. That's pretty good stuff. Thank you, Riley. And he's right. You know, it's a one-page bill, Riley, literally one page. Doesn't add a single word to federal law. It simply repeals those provisions in federal law that impose forced dues and forced fees on individual workers across the country as a condition of their employment. It's good policy, it's good politics, and hopefully will expand the number of supporters across the country in this Congress as well.
Okay, so one last thing I want to ask you about, because we have a labor secretary coming up, and there's a lot of concern that that person might try to push for things like forced unionization. I'd like to get your quick thoughts about that and what something like forced unionization would mean for workers.
Yeah, Riley, well, look, the concern that we have over Lori Chavez-DeRemer is the fact that she was one of 3 Republican co-sponsors on the PRO Act, which first and foremost would have repealed all 26 right-to-work laws across the country that Rand Paul just talked about. We're very concerned about that. Obviously, you can see the name here, right to work, and if she wants to repeal all the right-to-work laws, we need to be engaged there. There's some other issues with her as well, but look, Donald Trump is doing a great job. He's got great nominees, and this one's pretty hard, but we've got to stand up and fight, and hopefully during the hearing on Wednesday of next week, she will clarify her position on forced unionism, because if you have a labor secretary that's going to put her thumb on the scale for force compulsion in the American workplace, that's a real problem.
Yeah, it is. So just final 30 seconds here. I'd like you to clarify why that is so problematic.
Well, obviously, we believe that workers should have the right to choose whether or not they want to support a labor union, as Rand Paul said. And so as a Department of Labor Secretary, she's kind of the face of labor policy in America. And I don't believe Donald Trump's labor policy includes forced unionism, but certainly if she continues with her stand like she has as a member of Congress, a one-term member of Congress, then we have to be concerned about what she will be doing at a $70 billion agency to give union officials more power over workers.
Okay, we'll have to stay tuned for that upcoming hearing with her as well. And it'd be great to have you back on the show. But for now, we are out of time. So, Mark, thank you for stopping by.
Riley, great to be with you. Thanks for the opportunity and congratulations again.
Thank you very much.